You know, it's really interesting. I have blocked Facebook, believe it or not. See, there's blocking individuals, then there's just blocking Facebook itself, which is not typically done. But there is this block a website app which you can download and add to your browser, for example. So if you have an issue checking your email too much, if you have an issue that is causing a problem at work, Facebook addiction. You know, a lot of people are addicted to these constant updates. If it's not Facebook, it's the instant messaging portion of the cell phone, and it's become normalized. And as I step away from Facebook, it's been about 48 hours so far. I think my record is 7 days, maybe actually a few more weeks, but my account was open during that period. My account was open, it was not deactivated. There were periods in the past in which I had to reactivate it, in which my car broke down. So may that not happen again. I'm working on getting a spare, doing some temp work tomorrow at a wonderful property at about 20 miles from here. And it's the second time that I'm working for this particular individual. In fact, after I moved some rocks from yesterday or last week, he specializes in a form of energy healing and work. Maybe he'll be open to an interview. But that was a unique, rare highlight after that day of work. So for a person like me, efficiency is really, really important. And I want to develop myself as a writer. I want to encourage my YouTube audience to check out the content that I'll be creating on different platforms, as well as the content that I already have created that's on different platforms, or to visit alexansary.tv, for example, sign up to the newsletter, get the videos delivered to your email. I'll send out something at least once a week or so. And I can see in myself, you see, because a lot of people think that I'm talking from a state of perfection because of how they're used to seeing others speak. I know what Facebook has done to damage me. You know that type of, or it's a phrase, hot flash. Ooh, I'm getting hot flashes. Or some people have wild emotions. There's something about, and we keep coming back to this, the frequency that Facebook is running on. There's something about it. And someone could be uniquely targeted in unique ways that we may not know about. So when they modified our emotions back in 2012, is it just modifying what we see on the feed and then adding in fake news and then putting in things that seem threatening to us, whether we're on one side of the fence or the other? Or could there be other ways in which our emotions are toyed with as well? Frequencies emitting sounds that we consciously cannot hear. What about them apples? Is it really that impossible? Frequencies that are coming from the computer when we log on to particular websites, and that could include YouTube. You see, I'm not happy with the years of subliminal activity going on the YouTube ad section at the top when you visit youtube.com. It's always recommending, despite what I talk about on my own channel, it's always recommending that I check out these far right conspiracy websites and channels. Despite all of these accusations about all these people being held back when I'm on YouTube, now I try to leave YouTube logged out. I literally am boycotting the activity of surfing YouTube. It's always trying to lead into these weird areas. Sometimes it's like a decent suggested, and sometimes it's just automatic. But you also have to take into effect the websites that we're actually on. The internet's not to blame. Watching video isn't to blame. Podcasts aren't to blame. There's some amazing content over at Blog Talk Radio. And let me know if that's something that you enjoy already as it is. There was a certain level of connection I felt with past radio audiences on past websites. And even though that's in the past, man, for years I had roommates. So I'd be paying $400 a month for my share while I worked and went to school, doing quite a bit when I lived in Portland. And a lot of that just seemed to drain on me, and it was always an annoyance to my roommates that I did a radio show. Now I'm off the grid, and it seems more suited for Blog Talk Radio to get into some of my deeper ideas than YouTube. And now you understand, now that the channel's been demonetized. And some people may not know this because they may be new to my work. They may not know that I've created 30 or 40 videos where I've been discussing how they've actually used certain individuals in the alternative media to take down the rest of us. They've actually promoted some extreme content, and instead of actually deal with that, there's like this widespread, some people call it a purge. Some people's channels still remain. Some people are doing very well that are complaining about being censored, and some people are being censored or being demonetized that you never hear about because people don't talk about them because they're not popular. They're not a Mr. AJ. See, as the whole world talks about Mr. AJ, who's reporting on those YouTubers or smaller content creators that have been thrown under the bus? So on a deeper level, there's something tying these different social media tech giants together. Decision-making wise, censorship wise, mind control wise, subliminal wise. I mentioned a recent video, and it's okay if you like CRTV or if you're on one side, but it's like when I'm bombarded, folks, with advertising for CRTV over and over and over all throughout Facebook, something's wrong. Again, it's promoting the activity of bots or bot-like activity where every group that I previously was in that was of a political nature, like almost exclusively has CRTV posts. That's not balanced. That's not grassroots. When there's that type of financial juice and advertisement. When I talk about these things and I'm right, it's not that I expect a cake. I think that we need to go to the next level of the dialogue. It shouldn't feel like a fight, that I'm being perceived as someone's political enemy. It shouldn't feel like that most of the time. So I'm going to continue on this topic without jumping around because there's so much more to say. But more importantly, there's so much more that needs to be written. So many books on psychic self-defense, psychic protection, but most of these books before the day and age of the computer. By the way, I did some cleaning today. It is important to clean out our mind. So in the days in which I haven't been on Facebook, what have I done a little bit more of? Well, I didn't clean this top to bottom. I really could paint the walls, but I swept, moved the table, thought I'd do another video, use appropriate lighting and framing, things of that nature, instead of just, point and click. So maybe a little bit of care and attention taken to that. A little bit more care and attention taken to what I'm going to do with the rest of my week. So some temp work, getting the bills taken care of for the what remains of September of 2018. We'll see if the channel is remonetized later after the month. Looking at doing some other things this week. Also, obviously did some hiking yesterday and visited some places that I've never visited before. You see, I want that ambition back. I was listening to a lecture. I didn't like a lot of his crass, Andrew Clay style of humor with regards to women, even if that even turns on some women. His idea of success after 40 was his idea of success. But see, there is this condition in which we can end up with learned apathy or learned helplessness. And, falsely see it as enlightenment. And he made some really good points. We should always try to do that self-inventory. Are we really becoming more enlightened or spiritual, or are we becoming apathetic? And there's something about the social media dynamic and being on it that seems to bring out the apathetic tone. It seems to be a replacement, like a replacement pill. I could see the value in Facebook and social media for someone that really needs that engagement and deals with loneliness. And I've dealt with loneliness. I don't have family living that's connected to me. I have family that's living, that lives their own life, and obviously I'm a different kind of a person. Those of you know that. That plays a role in that. Also, my family from different places, from mother to father, so I feel like I was born kind of an outcast. So for me, and I'm just giving you some background, for me, I was like feeling like I was first starting to show the world my value. After 2004, 2005, when I started Outside the Box TV on Portland Cable Access. And then from there, so I'm sharing with you from my perspective as someone whose spirituality has been tied in with what he does, speaking his truth, and that being something that kind of set me free from some darker earlier years in Portland. See, there's a lot of people that lose themselves to helplessness and drug addiction that they never cure themselves from, or other problems, codependent relationships, sex addiction, just straight up alcoholism. There's so many social ills. For me, what set me free was just at least finding my soapbox, even though later I would find myself with trolls and haters and defamers and things of that nature, it was still therapy for me to find my own voice, to find a microphone, to really pull myself up from the streets, if you will. And I didn't really have much of a solid family background growing up. So in a way, I had a kind of, and it's not that I'm perfect, I still feel a little bit broken, but I'm a guy with a microphone with an opinion. Not a guy on the street corner doing typical things. But I also am someone that didn't join the left-right paradigm. I'm independent of that. So there's a part of me that feels like I'm a disappointment eternally to Democrats and Republicans because I say things that they are not in agreement with. And so there is a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain that I have being an independent because there's that lack of acceptance from a tribal structure, so to speak, let alone family. And we've talked about that. So enter social media. Social media can give a guy like me, who's also had some other negative experiences, a chance to reach the world with a message. And that's the positive element of social media and YouTube. But it's like with all things moderation. I now have 12 years experience being on YouTube and the long-term effect of that on the real world life, not the avatar Alex Ansary. I can go, how many real friends are there? How many are there that would do harm if they had the opportunity or have tried or already have? How many would genuinely help? How different is it in the interaction or engagement? How does it feel intuitively now in the year 2018 as opposed to the year of 2007, 2008? How much has changed since my years in Portland? What's better? What's worse? I've had a lot of time to think about that. I've had a lot of time to write about that. Let's see if there's... and that's the other thing. So a lot about me will be better understood in a book that's not understood on Facebook. And getting back to that, I've given Facebook so much of my life to a point where I feel like it's consumed me. To a point where it's like that term, that cracks me up. What's another term, cracks me out? It's almost as if Facebook has drug-like effects. And I've been thinking about this for years, and now you can find mainstream, not fringe, right? They're not speaking with a conspiratorial tone, psychology magazines and publications, and they're not even bringing in politics or Trump, for those of you that are sensitive on that level. And people are critical of Cambridge Analytica or things of that nature. People want to make it a political thing and say people were upset about the election. No, it's so much deeper seated than you think, because there were criticisms of Facebook and what they were doing before the recent election cycle. I just referenced earlier, for those with memories. Again, there's something about, I think, also the social media hurting long-term memory. But in 2012, it came out that Facebook was experimenting in some way with our emotions. And I said earlier in this video, right, there could be the overt way of doing that, like manipulating the feed. And I think they flagged me as a conspiracy person. And so my feed was flooded with the fake Sharia law and news invasion stuff, more so than the average Facebook user. Plus, I'm in Colorado. And the campaign to put out that information was in 3 main states more than the other 47. It was Virginia, Colorado, and trying to remember the third one. And a consultant in Texas provided the information for the states to bombard on social media. So I think that even my own challenges finding allies in the state of Colorado in recent years has a direct result to do with what's been going on Facebook. Whereas when I interacted with people a few years ago in Colorado, it was a lot different. Although it was a different region, right? Obama was still the president. A lot of people liked Obama, and there was the difference between myself and them over that. A lot of people didn't trust me for not trusting Obama. And it's like, no, I'm not with the right wing. It's the same thing. Don't you understand it's the same thing? Just like I'm trying to tell the people today. Don't you understand it's the same thing? And they're like, oh, this is some blasphemy. And so much of this has been generated online. This divide. But it's bigger than politics, as I said, reeling it back. So you have psychology publications that are discussing the dopamine addiction, which is the addiction to the likes, the addiction to the attention. And the way in which narcissism is promoted, unfortunately, through these memes and the hunt for likes, the pictures. I've noticed a number of different people, and I don't want to get too detailed, but women that, and I also got to learn a little bit about energy vampirism through interactions with others on Facebook. But the people that are married that will put up the, the butt pics, the super juicy, tramp stamp tattoo, look at my ass as I slap it type chicks that like live on Facebook all day long, that like live to see their 56th, 57th, 58th like. And so since I've been learning about spiritual parasites and the archons and how men could be duped by their lust as well as women, I can see how it works on both sides. Eve Lorg in The Love Bite, I reference this often so people can get a quick idea of an understanding of what she speaks of. And so she was doing like meetups with people way back before Facebook. And she started to notice that some of her people that were in her group, and it was like a self-help group where people come together that have a similar ailment. And these are people that believe that they had been abducted by aliens. And she had noticed that there seemed to be some strong attractions between members of her group that didn't seem to be natural. And so in one of her books available for free online, she starts writing down her case studies, just like Robert Bruce in his book is writing down case studies. And maybe in a book that I will write someday, I can write about some of the case studies and things that I've noticed. Being a public person that's gotten a lot of emails, many of them very weird over the years. And a lot of strange interactions with others in strange engagements, the point where it almost ruins all of the engagements from the last few years. That's something that I'll be writing about. When I'm older and I'm able, hopefully, God willing, to be able to evolve beyond this place, it'll be easier to write about all the things that happen to me behind the scenes while living here in this place. But while currently living here in this place, it's like I've allocated myself to get into about this much out of the pie. But what people might prefer is, hey, I don't want to know how you emotionally cope with living off the grid. I want to see chickens. People may want to see a garden. People will want to see what they want to see no matter what. And the thing is, I can only provide that which is my true self, not a self that someone else wants me to be, right? Mr. Gardener, full-time, Mr. Someone that eats a specific way. I never lived up to anyone's expectations. No one in family, right? No employer in the past. And so I'm not going to start now with YouTube. Certainly not in this post-phase demonetization. In fact, the opposite. I got to get even more real and bring up issues that I haven't gotten into in a while. Good men leaving mainstream society, ramifications for women's safety. A video I do 4 years ago, all of a sudden it's getting commentary. And like I said, most of my trolls have been, men or MGTOW leaning men, not to, not notice or recognize the people in the audience that are good, that may have those ideologies or leanings. It's pretty rare that it's the women themselves that'll get all huff and puffy. And so sometimes a video will start trending, not on a viral level, but it'll start getting views again. It'll start being suggested. And I'm noticing an uptick in women coming at me that don't watch my content at all. They just saw what I said in that video. And they're like, you're not good. If you're like leaving and going off grid, then you're bad and stuff. Like really like, whoa, where's this thinking come from? I don't know how I would even debate that in the streets. Another person said, you're not good. You didn't have insurance when you drove that time. You said it on video. You're a bad man. Bad man. You're not a good man. And it's like, who are the... And I was like, oh, it's that video that's trending now. I'm hitting a button. Something I said in 2014 is like hitting a button now with the demographic of women. They're like, who's this mofo talking about good men are leaving society, future ramifications for women's safety? I'm saying that there's a geopolitical situation coming. And I started talking about this in 2006, 2007, that when there is no police and when a lot of people have already fled off grid and some people were pushed out because they didn't demoralize themselves. Maybe they weren't a bastard. Maybe they didn't have what it took in corporate America to keep their good job and suit. And maybe they thought they would downsize. I mean, like, I think I talked about that stuff in the video. And so you'll also have people like, I'm going to completely ignore everything that you said about your point about why people are being pushed out, and I'm just going to attack you anyways. Who are you working for, the Archons? Why would someone be angry if someone's talking about freeing themselves? But what I have learned is, at the end of the day, people may be drawn, women may be drawn to my content, and it's either the spiritual, the solar flares, but it's very rare that they go, I remember 10 years ago you were warning about a period in which women are in danger and men should protect them, not violate them, because a day is coming in which our country will be occupied. And when you go out there, first of all, and you talk about the type of idea that happened to America, people act like you hate America and you want to see that happen. Like, don't think about that, Alex. You'll help make it happen, with their best South Park voice. All that and a bag of chips. I've told the story about 10 times. I haven't told you in about a year. But one time, during a period in which I was about to leave the Portland Preparedness Center, and I was already under spiritual attack directly. And I was very promiscuous during that period of February 2011. And so I had been affected by some negative energy that seemed to be sabotaging what I was building then. So again, this is February 2011. Right around that time I did that interview with Bob Felix. I may have looked okay on camera. Behind the scenes, things were falling apart at the PPC. Within a few months, I was living with my friend in Estacada. By September in 2011, I'm going to Dallas, Texas. By 2012, I'm living in Costilla County. So there's a series of things, literally, folks, within a year that led to my first departure out of Portland. But I was trying to reach out to this Portland woman. We're both drown our sorrows in a drink of some kind. I go, hey, how are you? Some conversation was started. Oh, what do you do? And then kind of discussing kind of some of the things that I talk about on the channel. And some of it could be animated maybe over a few beers and pretty much describing that same scenario that I just have shared with you many times. Or the vision of Leon the Gaunt. And then she gave me that, what seemed to be an almost archetypical response. We, the women, don't need your help. In fact, we probably need help or protection from you. And that was like a real way to stab me. And she said it so loud, to the point where the people in the bar thought that I actually like made a move for her or something. And I don't normally have problems in bars, and I don't go to bars now, but this was like a period in Portland in which I felt such great negativity around me and within the city. And I was discussing it more and more. And it made a lot of people didn't know how to handle that type of perspective, that their city wasn't super spiritual. But there was like this dark cord cutting through it. And the seeds were planted within me then, that all of the women that I was even involved with on a sexual level, it was all physical, at least in the idea of their eyes, status, because at the time I was on cable access TV, or at the time I was younger, or at the time I had a job, or at the time I seemed trendier. Now some time has passed. I'm not a renter. I'm going to be a landowner. I've stepped away from a lot of my vices, but as a result of stepping back, the social life has dwindled. But as a result, hopefully I will age a little bit more gracefully, as I will be 40 in 1.5 years. And that's been on my mind quite a bit these days. The things that I need to do, back to social media, to protect my frontal cortex in this day and age of the targeted individual. In this day and age of those, the gnosis, the people that are actually putting themselves out on YouTube, people like myself, we can end up more on a radar than the average person that's just consuming content. And that's something that has to be said on a regular basis, because some people don't know what that means. In that video in which I put, why don't chase the women of today's day and age, I talk about being a public person in Portland and realizing if I've put so many years into activism and going in a particular direction, and I reach a certain point of age, 31, 32, and it's continuously the same type of female that I'm coming across, where it's quick to take off the pants, very difficult to get close to the heart and actually a real connection, just realizing what the real world is like. Once you actually go out and there's no longer Craigslist, there's a time and an age, though, to realize what things are really like, the values that a lot of urban women have, with the exception of maybe a few, just like men. And the consciousness of most men, I'm not down with that. You're not seeing me hanging out with a bunch of dudes going, yeah, party, football. Yeah, simulate that pigskin. Doritos, Doritos, USA, USA, USA. It's like, you don't see me in like that crowd. Like there was a time, yes, where I was younger and more naive, and I thought my years of Ron Paul activism, for example, would at least bring me deeper seated connections with real, well, yeah, on Facebook. But we don't even talk anymore hardly. You know, and yeah, there was that period I went down to the RNC and we put it on Facebook. And let's go back to that. Facebook gave me a way to share these experiences with people that were not my family, but they're treating me better than family ever did. Hey, Alex, like, we love that, this, but a little goes a long way. So it's not the engagement that's bad or the community element. It's that we need to make it better. By shutting down what I would consider to be a manipulated dark portal, i.e. Facebook, we want to open up other avenues. And it may take time for someone like me to grow a newsletter beyond 80 people. Right now we're at 79, 80. You want to check out the link down below. It may take time to build outsideTheBox.vhx.tv beyond its 20 subscribers. We're down from our high of 27. You know, and I want to continue, though, to have faith in those alternatives. And not everyone's going to understand at once. You know, if certain websites, though, were to go down and YouTube channels, it places more value on those other platforms. But how do people know where to go if they're not already signed up? But you can at least remember my name. But I think if we get to that level to where we're dealing with disappearing channels, we're already at the next level of seriousness, and we may have bigger problems to deal with than YouTube AdSense or where our videos went. Dude, where'd my videos go? And I said in 2013, be prepared for that type of attack on our psyche on a collective level, where one day people might even be checking out because their YouTube channels are gone. You know how stressed out I was in the days before my YouTube demonetization? Kind of a coincidence, don't you think? There's actually some private conversations that I had behind the scenes over Skype and Google Voice, just ironically within 12 hours of that demonetization. It's kind of a coincidence. I haven't really brought that up or other things that have gone on. I didn't get 3 strikes. I got 1 strike for featuring a prominent alt-right member's protest video or something from like 2 years ago. It wasn't even recent. Did he have some sort of pull with YouTube with his 297,000 subscribers on his platform that he started like last year? Now, YouTube superstar. It's like the YouTube that I see and the Facebook that I see. For example, someone on the far right will be sharing his homicidal fantasies about what he wants to do to his Democratic neighbors. And like there'll be people on his feed going, yeah, blow them away, yeah. It's like all these people are saying like they're censored and stuff. And it's like, censored how? Where? It seems like it's more of almost an infomercial for Facebook. Come on, Facebook, say something real. Get banned for 30 days. Get validated that you're doing something right. Yeah, fight the revolution on Facebook. Come back in 30 days. Yeah, you're a trooper. You did something for your world. You got kicked off Facebook. It's like, yeah, I got kicked off Facebook. We're winning. And it's like, whoa, man, this is nuts. So I know how people are. I know how Portlanders are. They couldn't take any criticism at all of Portland not being progressive. With Facebookers, they're like Portlanders. They're like, and I don't mean to say all of you. Some of you may be great people and you moderate your time wisely on Facebook. But there are people that I haven't had beefs with on Facebook, but their activity is straight, like 6 hours straight. They're literally on Facebook all day long. I don't know if some of these people are retired. Some of these people are 40 or 50. They might be working and on Facebook all day long. But they're like commenting and posting and liking and responding. And it's just like, when are people going to wake up to the conspiracy in it? And everything that they say and do on YouTube is just that loop. Well, you know, and going back and forth and Trump this or the left this, whatever side of the politics you're on. And then I myself have dumped my emotions into the AI system. Thinking that if people were following my work for 10, 12 years or more, just like I spoke about personal things with you on YouTube already that I never will now that I've been schooled, thinking that people that actually watch my channel would want to hear my perspective on that issue. And then I was schooled and going, nope, there's actually only so many people in the audience that are open to that level of sharing. Most people want things overtly. It's going to pump them up, make them feel good, make them feel like they're winning, whether they are or aren't. They want to see their YouTube host at his best after he's ate his Wheaties, not putting out a camera just at a random moment going, folks, this is how it is. And what I've done is I've done a little bit of both. I've shared some things when I've been at my best and I had my Wheaties, and I'm like, here's my truth, and I think it can help you too. And then I've come out with another video and going, guys, things are feeling a little difficult because of this barrier that I'm experiencing. Oh, you social justice warrior leftist, get the hell out. And it's like, whoa, dude, if you guys appreciate the content to a certain level, at least try to hear out what I'm saying without throwing me in this category with a level of defensiveness. So I can only conclude that the overall technological influence overall is overall bad, negative. Okay, it's good for that minority of us that are able to share our unique, outside the box views and perspectives, and for you and myself as well as you, to be able to get on YouTube and get online and listen to a coast to coast episode, as I was listening to their best of snapshots. They'll take like the best 10 minutes of each show. And this lady's talking about psychic attack. This is like a more regular topic. Did you notice that on George Norrie's Coast to Coast, that psychic warfare is now a more regular topic? Not because of me, because my projection years ago that by 2016, by 2017, by 2018, the social media problems will be so overt that the conversations about psychic protection will be more regular. That the disturbances within people, within relationships, within dreams, it's not just the 5G. I mean, it's the very cell phones that people are rolling around with. I mean, you picture like an average shopping mall, for example, and think about all the different cell phones that are in that particular geographic area. And it's like a grid, just like the smartphones. Well, take a guy like me, and I think that it is not my natural biological state to be strong, healthy testosterone levels, healthy other levels, and to be bathed in unnatural electromagnetic pollution. Call me crazy, many people have, get in line. But I do not believe that it is our natural state to be bombarded with that level of X-ray type of magnetism. And there is something about magnetism, reeling it back. So I'm looking, what is my mind going to focus on and talk about without social media? This is an example of that. Yesterday, I visit somewhere, a waterfall that I've never been to and a trail that I haven't been to in 2 years. And why am I being drawn up there? Magnetism. You know, it's something quite interesting. I bumped into someone that I talked to really briefly in the parking lot. There were just some older guys that were hiking. And later, I was looking up theories, whatever theories might be out there. See, the things I might look up and research when I'm on social media. Ancient Colorado theories about some of these ancient ruins, going even, pre-Hopi, pre-Anasazi. Things of that nature. And I come across someone's information. I come across a guy's website, come across his books, and the research he does into the ancient world. And there's many authors in the Southwest that research stuff regarding the ancient world. So there's something about not only this area that's drawing interesting folks like myself and others, even though we may not be part of a community, we may have gone our own way. Some off grid, some not off grid, some wealthy, some not wealthy, some white, some not white, but yet drawn to a similar place in America. And so, I don't know what there is for me to see in this. I don't think that we'll need to have a conference per se, but there actually is a concentration of philosophical thinkers and researchers and some people that have traveled the world within a 100-mile geographic range of this area, maybe 150. Denver probably has a bunch of great folks. That's across the state. But I'm talking about people, Four Corners, San Luis Valley. You have some areas that I've never been to that I would like to in the Western Slope. But some of these areas seem to be energy centers. So it's not just Sedona in Arizona. There's other smaller communities. And with that, you also have what some people call the fake spiritual narcissists that put out counterfeit information. And they're here too. I don't sit here and I don't want to go on a path in 2018, 2019 of bashing individual people. I also think that some of these people are straight up warlocks. And I'll just say it, people like Ramtha, the one that goes by the name of Jay-Z Knight, that shares what the voices in her head share with her when she's on Facebook. Yeah, I got a chance to watch her on Facebook and go, now here's this spiritual leader that's like so successful, like posting like obviously fake Photoshop nonsense. And like they'll have like 55 people, 100 people, 150 people, 200, 250 people, 300. It's like, whoa, the algorithm serves those that are like under the spell. And I know that like, this is new for some of you. And like for me to be on technology and to see that and to post about it and to be like, nobody's seen my posts. Holy crap. You know what I feel like? I feel like somebody put me on mute. It's like a lot of people like to complain if a content creator mutes them or blocks them. It's like, I feel like as the content creator that I've been put on mute, not block, but it's like, yay, here you go, Alex. Have your little arena where you talk, 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 but ultimately you're only going to reach so many people. And I look at that minimized reach on Twitter as well as Facebook. And what happened on Twitter was like literally overnight almost 100 less follows. That wasn't some angry post of mine that pissed off a bunch of people. Those were like fake profiles that were like being like over time, over the years, there'd be weird people tweeting at me, but the tweet wouldn't make any sense. It'd be like retweeting at me something and there'd be like some nonsense in there and it wouldn't be a troll. It'd be like, okay. It wouldn't be like as overt as adding my name in with like a Ray-Ban sunglass ad, which would often happen on Facebook, but it'd be like some other nonsense. So it's like they got us conditioned to associate that with being social. But in the end, we got to hit another point here. It's really programming to be antisocial when people prefer that. And this is how, and I'm going to speak as a heterosexual male, how it infects relationships with women. Women add men like me on Facebook to stare, to lurk, to find something wrong. And see, if you're going to look on Facebook, you're going to find something wrong because Facebook is designed ultimately to feature, like have you ever looked at your own profile through someone else's eyes or profile? You might be surprised. I don't know how they do this, but I don't think Facebook will even feature the best of us. Like there'll be like a period in which I might rant a little bit, not anymore, and like certain things people would see and certain things people wouldn't see at all. There might be like 17 responses to one and the other. And so certain things, personal sensitivities, things that I've shared before on this channel, but won't again. But it's like there's times in which I really reached out for true friendship, possibility of romance. I bared my soul in some ways. That's why I call it soul sucking. Hitting on another point. And I'm doing all this without notes. When that Facebook is open for me, as a sensitive, as what some people call an empath, as someone that picks up information, whether I want to control it, can't control it or not. It's not about controlling it or perfecting it. It's a matter of being sensitive to certain things. Well, Facebook can kind of really pull at one's energy. Like, what's on your mind? No, come on, tell me, seriously. What's wrong? It's like something out of THX 1138. What's wrong? Well, just because there's that auto suggestion for us to constantly be telling it what's on our mind, that doesn't mean that it's good. That eventually we'll start telling the machine so much about what's on our mind that eventually everything will end up being fixed. We'll just keep telling it what's on our mind. And eventually, like our friends after years of going, you know what, Jennifer, we watched you share what was on your mind year after year after year. And then we realized over all that time, we love you. We care about you. We want to see you again one day. We understand you were crying out for help. We're going to come and we're going to do that road trip. And what I found was, like in theory, we could be sharing something personal about a pain that we're having, but the nature of the Facebook beast is they, being a woman looking at us or someone else's family, will see it as a weakness. More so than actually talking to someone face to face. The fact that we share it on social media. The fact that we actually don't care. Like some of us are actually especially different, like myself. We may not care ultimately what people think, and we're here to buck the system. So like for over the years, for example, every one of many of my father's relatives, whether I added them or they added me, and in the end, most of them have been blocked or unfriended. But and that's the other thing. When you get on social media, people think that you by being on social media owe them your energy or your engagement or your discourse, a return of energy, an exchange. You could be someone that's gone his own way, doesn't even talk to his family, and they don't even talk to me, and have someone that's moved on from Portland, moved on from talking to old male buddies, moved on from talking and salivating over and thinking lustfully over, although I'm not perfect, old girlfriends. Like, I've moved like on with my life, and there's like, but you're on like social media, Alex, like, give me your time. And the emails, it's like a lot of this would be easier shared with snapshots in a book one day, showing specific examples, Twitter feeds, things of that nature. And it almost seems to be something that a future civilization will understand, one that isn't on Facebook or YouTube. No offense to you or myself, because we're both here. But I mean, one, like a society that's like dealing with like the written word, going, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. But it's like in the day and age of us still being on the juice, jacked up in the engagement, in the like or dislike, angry face emoji, and the day and age of the crying emoji. I'm telling you, folks, this has been created and given to all of us in order to destroy us. In order to destroy us. Advice to men. Don't let women add you on Facebook. Okay, if they want to hang out with you or something, email, nurture that conversation. She can talk to you over email. She doesn't need to be adding you on Facebook to watch you from a distance. From a distance, she finds something to judge, and you'll never hear from her again. From a distance. And it's like, I have now 10 years experience. Oh, wow, look at her. Man, I'd like to have her visit the tiny house. Yeah, Alex, just post shit on Facebook. See, the other thing is, I like the idea that I've gone my own way, but I also think that MGTOW is a trap, and I think that while I'm still in the body, that I should be having some experiences. Again, Facebook is bad, because by even allowing them to have a Facebook engagement with you, their needs are being met. Their dopamine levels are being met. Now, mind you, only in drops, but it was actually 10 years ago that it came out that people were developing a greater interest in technology rather than sex. It's also come out that for the women that do view pornography, there is the search results as to what type. And it may not be what people think. It's a lot crazier, in fact. Is this the natural way or the influence of social media and all the pornography? The fact that some of the search engine results and what some of the women of today's day and age are looking at is, according to the data, definitely on the wild side. Someone actually, it was Dylan Avery's girlfriend at the time, when I made that point, I don't know whether social media had fried her brain, but like so much is making sense to me out of all these misunderstandings on Facebook. Facebook, like they may have already been a little bit like dense. She was asking me if I was saying that, so are you saying rape is okay? No, that's not what I'm saying. I think the point is, this takes us back earlier, but a lot of women don't get it. Few do. And out of those few that do, an even smaller perspective will comment specifically that they get that said specific point. A lot of people like to stay in their safe zones with spiritual stuff and stuff that's like fuzzy with like, bunnies and stuff. When it comes to like the real mature adult politics of relationships, a lot of people don't like to trend here. If there is statistical information coming out showing that there is a perversion that is growing in popularity and a growing disdain for the men that are warning of future human trafficking epidemics, men like by myself, that have ended up leaving mainstream society because they felt that society wasn't listening. Again, if we're talking about the top 10 things that are part of my message and warning, is that the West Coast is going to face, it's like an artery of railroad tracks that'll be carrying people, cars, things of that nature, some sort of a future dystopian scenario where there's an export of a product out of the United States, and that product happens to be American women. I'm not asking for a medal, and I don't think anything can be done about it now. I think a lot of the so-called Hamburger Gate stuff and stuff that people have kind of spun out of thin air, including about voodoo donuts, the fake conspiracies, What if that's been part of the plot to get us to really look away from the future human trafficking and pedo scandals and situations? Because there's been almost like an oversaturation of it now, to the point where, like, when there's real stuff going on that's like major, a lot of people will be all numbed out from the hamburger gate, ice cream gate nonsense on the internet, and they won't know what's real. And so that's my theory with that. That's my understanding, that we're being bombarded with different cry wolf scenarios and invasion meme scenarios that aren't actually real in totality, but only in perception. And so you can have a large perspective or segment of the population numbed out to what I'm warning about, numbed out to what other men have warned about or what other women have warned about. And then there's this sense of, okay, well, there's this world of control. Then there's this world of total openness and total promiscuous activity and being super kinky and then being afraid of love. And see, it's like people want to get away from one level of control, and I think they find themselves in another level of control. And they have themselves in the other level of control where, like, the cell phones are in control, connected to the government, right? So we have government sanctioned protection for women, while the good men have been, or other people, pushed out of society, or they have no place for them. Some women haven't lived in cities like Portland or certain places to where things are so have and have nots that it's so about the beauty and the looks. And in such environments like that, women suffer as well, because then you also have an oversaturation of it. I think I haven't talked about the oversaturation factor in years. Okay, so let's say then the cute blonde with the big tits has more value than the rest of the men and women. Then you have a concentration of that type of a population in one area, and the other people that, you know, aren't up to par to get the jobs to make the money to earn the rent to stay in the area, they end up fading out of that geography. While you know, an area like Portland continues to be filled up with California girls and New York girls, and also their hipster boyfriends that came along for the ride, and others just trying to get away from the crap hole, shithole within the America cult that they were born into. So they go west, young man. And so, you know, you have an oversaturation of the hipster apocalypse and the archetype of the cutie blonde with the nice tits. What happens then when you have an oversaturation, you have an oversupply, you're already on an inflated dollar. Once something teeters out of balance, it's a dangerous scenario for those people that have come to and adapted to that unnatural urbanite, living on the edge way of life. And you can almost see it from a social engineer's perspective of duping certain women that have looks of a certain level into a particular geography, right? To where when they pull the lever and the wars begin and the cities get locked down, there'll be a higher concentration for those involved in the grab and go. I'm not talking about the grab and go kits. We're talking about those involved in human trafficking. So what have I done for 10 years but share? This is not a comic book. This is not something from a movie, but something that feels like it's part of a waking knowing. Like it's obvious. Like the oldest perfection, as they say, is human trafficking or prostitution. So human trafficking would go along with that in certain cities with a history of human trafficking. Portland fits that bill with its history of the Shanghai tunnels. So I moved away from Portland, but the things that I talk about are going to continue to be a part of me. A guy like Alex Ansary that cares about people, even if I have some angry female troll named Rhonda saying, you don't care about people. Well, Rhonda, you don't know about nothing. I don't even think you know how to watch a full video and even understand who someone is. And there's a lot of women out there that will watch through multiple videos going, yeah, I'm going to find some. Yeah, Yeah, like what is this psychic war you're having? Oh, I got you down one. I'm not trying to get you down one. Are you hearing things? I'm trying to elevate you. What few women are in the audience, and it's like a 1 out of 20 are female or 1 out of 10. I'm trying to elevate the value that you have and remind you that you're not mass consciousness. Most women do not support the things that I support or listen to this program or stick around after a few years. And even those that have financially supported, it's people that are looking for something to fit into their mold, and for me to be consistently speaking in the way and tone and energy form in the video in which they found me to begin with. I am too abstract as a human being. As a human being, performance art, work of art, I'm a work of biology, expressing itself in unique ways day in and day out. I'll express my idea from that mountaintop. I'll express my idea here, but it's going to have its own value for that moment because it was my truth in that moment. Now, the thing is not to go, okay, well, this was a big dollar truth. Wow. That lady liked that truth. And she liked it when that truth was said like this with this type of a shirt and said in this type of a tone. And they really liked it. My audience really liked it when I said this, and this, and I didn't say this, and it was all reflected in the likes and dislikes. How many people got butthurt by that one comment that they just threw the whole video away? And it's like, after watching this nonsense, this social media nonsense, let's bring it back to that. It don't matter what people think. I will continue, right? It doesn't matter whether it's comments, likes, or whether it's on Access TV, whether there's no phone calls. It's just a video outwards. I will continue to put out video while I'm in human form. I don't know what's going to be in the next level of this. I know it started with cable access. And I know that social media, like I said, it gave me the opportunity to connect with others, and it led to certain friendships, and it even led to certain economic opportunities, obviously with the monetization on YouTube. But then when you walk away from a platform like Access TV, or you don't maintain a website, and you're left only with your main social media websites, and when they put that on mute or to monetize that, that's getting rid of that person's existence and that which they've done. So a lot of people need to wake up and they need to get real. They need to address their Facebook narcissism, that if someone leaves Facebook, that, wow, they've really been harmed. Someone really did something to them. And it's like, no, people should be leaving Facebook. There's better social media websites or ways to spend your time, or ways to spend your time online, or going outside, or going hiking, improving our relationships. Again, getting back that lust for life. You know, not letting ourselves learn this helplessness. You know, there's so much that I've already talked to you about what's on the Facebook feed. People are more into a political position on what they believe is real versus unreal, instead of taking a real critical look at Facebook taking part in the divide and conquer. And I think a lot of people miss the ball intuitively and pragmatively with being able to see the connections between the CIA and Russia's intelligence, because there's nothing that Russia's intelligence and their bots in St. Petersburg could have done without the help from our own government. Okay. Our own government was already embedded with Facebook. Facebook one day asked me to show it my ID. I literally showed it my ID to continue on Facebook. Have you had to do that? For those of you that are anonymous? Or was I just singled out on that particular day in 2013? A lot of crazy things have happened. The government pretty much showed itself at that moment to be involved with Facebook, and that was a really creepy moment. So we're to think that our own government wouldn't be involved as interference comes in from the outside. So instead of denying what took place, and even manipulation on the left with the Don't Shoot group, there was a Don't Shoot rally, which was like an offshoot of Black Lives Matter that was created by the Russian bots. And so people have missed the ball with being going, well, is our own government then working with other governments to divide and conquer so they all build their glory? Yes. Now that would be learning. That would be the brain cells firing. That would be a healthy flex of the bicep. The neurons, metaphorically, like the biceps within the brain muscles, the frontal, lobal areas, things of that nature. And instead, man, it's scary. I don't want to end up in my later years acting like I've been lobotomized and shit. How do I know about this stuff? I've been on Facebook for 10 years. I know that it has an impact and influence over emotions, and people, despite their conspiracy theories, and despite how much they rant about Zuckerberg, they're like the biggest Facebook fans and advocates for Facebook, and acting like they're having a real revolution and having these simulated arguments instead of actually screaming in the streets with someone where, like, the cops got to get called. There's like this long thread that's just going and going and going with angry emojis, laughing emojis, crying emojis. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to do nothing after that post. Everything was about the human energy being put into that post. And people thinking that, yeah, I got one over. Now this means something in the greater what? In the greater what of the Truman Show? What was all of that thread for? all of that screaming, all of that crying. The same thing goes for YouTube comment sections. What was it for? And that's the other thing that I mentioned before. You know, I do appreciate a lot of your comments, but I have always been flabbergasted why there isn't that same type of passion to talk outside of the YouTube comment section and outside of social media. There's been times in the past where I started a forum and like only the same 3 people would show up, and that would be it. And it wouldn't be like a representation of the energy going on within the YouTube comment section. And it's like, I appreciate those comments and some comments that have come in the past on Facebook, but there's something about Facebook and YouTube where even with that kindness, there's something about the mind control that says only communicate through these mediums, right? Even though we know about the CIA and all we know about all the back end stuff, Google and the government, people are actually on a subconscious level way more trusting of the Google AI complex than signing up for an Alex Ansary newsletter. And so when you actually step back and you step back into observer mode and you look at what is, it is a frightening picture what we have.